There, South Carolina Republican Nancy Mace joins me now. Congresswoman, good to have you with us today.
Thank you, Martha.
You know, what did you learn from that exchange with her? What were they thinking that they were doing when they blocked people like Dr. Bhattacharya, for instance?
Well, these Twitter lawyers were wholly unqualified to be censoring information or flagging actual data, medical data from qualified doctors that are educated at Harvard and Stanford, some of the best places in the world. They weren't qualified to do that, and they did that all over the place. And the one thing that I want to thank Elon Musk about is bringing this issue to light. And there was a lot of focus on Hunter Biden's laptop yesterday, but I also wanted to share some of my personal experiences with vaccination, but also point out that they were purposely preventing Americans from getting that information. Doctors were trying to share CDC data and some of the warnings for folks that had natural immunity that they didn't need to be vaccinated. You know, how do you trust the science when the government is literally trying to censor science?
Yeah, I mean, we were really told that Dr. Fauci was science and that anything else that fell outside of his purview was not. And now we see that Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, among others from Stanford University, who really talked early on about the destructive impact of lockdowns on children and their mental health, which we now see was clearly a very bad side effect. We never got a chance to be really weighed in public opinion.
Right, and it had a devastating impact. I'm a single mom of 2 teenage kids. I saw it firsthand how hard it was for kids who couldn't go to school and how hard it was in those families. But they were purposely silencing those voices. And there was one graph that I showed in the hearing yesterday where it was an actual chart from the CDC that Twitter pulled down and charted and labeled as misleading and disinformation. And then we saw in the Twitter files that there were government agencies. It wasn't just the FBI, but there were other agencies and other government entities telling Twitter to label these things as disinformation, misinformation, misleading, and have them pulled down. And that's just wrong. They have no right to do that.
So Jamie Raskin, also part of this hearing, really lashing out at the need for it and his feeling that it is sort of, well, let's let him say it. Go ahead.
The New York Post published the article on its own pages, and it was carried by lots of other media outlets. Even the chairman and other members of this committee were out on TV and social media talking about it. But instead of letting this trivial pursuit go, my colleagues have tried to whip up a faux scandal about this 2-day lapse in their ability to spread Hunter Biden propaganda on a private media platform. Silly does not even begin to capture this obsession.
So their argument is that there were plenty of places, and I should have set that up better. He's referring to the Hunter Biden situation at the beginning of that, that there were plenty of places for people to get that story if they wanted to read about it. And that Twitter, he called it a private, well, it wasn't at the time. It was a publicly traded site at the time. You know, that's just one small sliver of people's information. It's not a big deal.
Oh, it's a very big deal, especially when it's days before an election, especially when Republicans are labeled conspiracy theorists for wanting to spread this information, the story from the New York Post. And we even learned last August from Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook, that the FBI personally reached out to Facebook and told them and warned them about this story, that they should bury that story. Again, another example of the government trying to interfere with an election, interfere with censorship, and do that on taxpayer dime. And it's completely wrong. Whether it's Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, you know, it's giving the public an opportunity to hear about this and to get to hear both sides of it in this committee. So I think it's helpful. It's illuminating. Thank you very much, Congresswoman.
Thank you, Martha.
Nancy Mace, good to see you as always.
Thank you.
Thank you.